Okay, hello everybody, a bit scary, but nobody from the LMC is here, so you've got a scary video of me from beyond. We're not here because the London-wide LMCs are having a conference today, and we've all got to be at that, so it's a bit of a clash, so I apologise that there's nobody here. But we thought we should just do a little video about the negotiations for the NIS that have taken place this year. And obviously, if you've got any questions or anything comes up that I've not addressed in this this little video clip, please don't hesitate to get in touch. We can have a dialogue ongoing throughout the year like we did last year. Okay, what I'd like to do first of all is say a big thank you to Jo Sheldon, who is amazing at coordinating the whole thing. Really, without Jo, I think it'd be very difficult to have meaningful negotiations. She is really good at weeding out all the stuff we don't need to know and just putting in the stuff that's new and that we're not used to seeing. So I suppose I just want to give some headlines. The first headline really is that there's a 2% financial uplift this year across the NISs. This is the first time for years we've had a financial uplift, so I think that's something to be very cheerful about. And also to say that there's been ongoing dialogue all year about problems in the NIS, and a lot of you have come to us to say that you're not happy about the 12-month rolling target, so that has also been dropped. The prescribing NIS is much simpler. You'll find that there are baseline audits on opiates for the first quarter, and these have to be completed by the end of the first quarter. But Yaz has sent out an email to all practices already asking you to put dates in the diary as soon as you can after the 1st of April so that you can get going with this. And it's a baseline audit only, so not to be phased by it. The actual changes will need to come in the next 3 quarters, and that'll give more time. The TB NIS is a change to the TB NIS, and that is, it is proposed that we retrospectively screen patients. The LMC is slightly concerned about this. Our antennae are very up around sharing data with other bodies, government bodies, and we're worried about this potentially flagging up people to the Home Office via Public Health England. So we haven't actually agreed this part yet, and Werner, who is the lead for the CCG on this, is in touch with Leicester CCG because they had similar concerns apparently, and they've managed to arrange it so that they're doing lots of retrospective screening, but they're not sharing any data with Public Health England. So we're hoping to emulate that and do something similar. The long-term conditions NIS, or the complex care NIS, or whatever we call it, the mandatory numbers have been increased in that, which therefore then gives practices more of options to bring different people into the discretionary NIS, the discretionary part of the NIS. So hopefully that should help to increase that part of the cohort, and that should help practices. Another change worth mentioning is that last year the blood pressure targets for diabetes, CKD and just general hypertension were all lumped together in one target. This proved a bit confusing because the targets are different for all conditions, so these have now been split up. Some of the targets for various things have gone up, some of them have gone down. When we were negotiating, before we agreed any targets, we were shown data which showed us how practices were achieving right now. Obviously, we were negotiating in January, so there will be more progress towards achieving targets by the end of March. But we didn't agree anything that we felt was unachievable. And in fact, one of the targets, because it had been so bad, which the CKD is so underperformed, we've actually negotiated that down. The targets are a little bit lower than they might have been in the past because there's no option to decline. The CEG aren't keen to have an option to decline in the NISs, so the targets are lower to reflect the fact that some patients might decline to take part. It's been noticed that the completions for the Part Bs of the NIS has also gone down. This is just a monitoring target. It doesn't attract any payment, but the CCG were quite keen that we looked at this and wondered why this had happened. And some people suggested that actually it's an awful lot of work, but for some things like hypertension in young people, which really is not complex and they haven't got any other complex comorbidity, it might be possible to have a group event to do the Part Bs or to do things on the telephone. So different networks are doing things in different ways, and it would be really good to try and share good practice amongst networks and good ideas. So we're hoping that can happen. The seriously mentally ill cohort, that's been expanded to include people who are depressed, who are on antipsychotics. At the moment, they're not picked up from their disease code, so they will then be picked up. Adult ADHD. it's been agreed that there will be health checks on people with a robust and proper diagnosis of adult ADHD. The LMC are very reticent to take on shared care for ADHD in the way that it's been proposed at the moment by ELFT. We don't think it's within the expertise of a GP to be prescribing Ritalin and the drugs that are used for ADHD, and we certainly don't think we are qualified to monitor it. So we're in discussion with ELFT and the CCG about a way around this and about commissioning a robust service for ADHD. But like other people with a mental illness who have been diagnosed, if somebody does have a diagnosis, what we have agreed to in the NIS is that they have a health check. That's all, no prescribing. There's proposals around children and young people, and especially around safeguarding. This has only really come very, very latterly to the negotiations, and it hasn't been worked up. But it does need to be worked up before this is agreed. There's a new NIS around gestational diabetes. Practices can have £10 for coding women who have not yet been coded as having gestational diabetes, because their risk of actually developing diabetes over the next 5 years is very high. So that's one part of the NIS, and it's just for coding. If the woman doesn't turn up for her HbA1c, that doesn't matter, that's not part of the payment, it's just around the coding. The second bit is around glucose tolerance tests postnatally. The CCG are decommissioning BARTs to do glucose tolerance tests postnatally, because in fact the gold standard test is now an HbA1, and that money is going to be put into the phlebotomy NIS to try and put back some of the or allay some of the concerns around the phlebotomy NIS that you've all had. Some practices are doing glucose tolerance tests antenatally. BARTs are now commissioned to do those, but if BARTs want to subcontractor practices, that's fine. But the postnatal test is going to be the HbA1. There's been some money taken out of the anticoagulant NIS because far fewer people are on warfarin now, more people are on NOACs, and that money has also been put into the phlebotomy contract. The GP care group will be monitoring the NIS this year, and Zainab has said that they will be quite robust in enforcing deadlines for data. But on their side, they've committed to make sure that everything is ready for the 1st of April, the templates and all of the infrastructure is there. And if it's not and there are any concerns, people must report back to the GP care group. The enablers, the main things there, that there's going to be referral and diagnostic audits, and the CCG have absolutely assured us this is in no way meant to judge what's a good referral, what's a bad referral. It's just about understanding variation, and there is absolutely no intention to bring in any sort of referral management scheme of any description. So it really is just about looking at it and trying to work out variation, and where maybe we can help, or the CCG can help with employing sort of GPs with a special interest, for example. There'll be lots of things I've forgotten to bring up here. There'll be things you hear today that you think, oh, Jackie didn't address that, and I apologise, and I really do apologise again that nobody from the LMC is here today, but we are at our conference, and there's an important debate this afternoon with Mobashir Butt from GP at hand, so we feel we need to be there to make our case. So please keep in touch. If there are problems in the year, flag them, because as I say, this year we've had a great dialogue and we've actually managed to get some things reversed. So have a really good session. And just before I go, because it's me, and I think there's a demonstration on Saturday, Unite Against Fascism and Racism, 16th of March. I know Anna Livingstone will be setting up a time that people can meet at Mile End to go together. There's going to be a big health block there, because we have to not let the racists divide us. We have a wonderful multicultural community which enriches us all. So please do this. And on Monday, actually, which would have been yesterday now, practices were asked to do selfies holding these up, saying no place for hate. If you haven't done it and you want to do it, just do it and send them to me. And finally, again, 8-hour Hamlets protest on Friday the 22nd against migrant charges. If you can come to East London Mosque by 1 p.m, Friday the 22nd, and march to Barts Health to actually say to them, we really need to sort of do something about these migrant charges against people who are destitute, which stops them coming for their healthcare. Sorry to have hijacked the NIS little video, but I really do feel that these things are important. So thank you very much for listening, and have a good session, and don't forget to stay in touch. Thank you.